Today's CoffeeCast perhaps takes something of a risk. You may have heard the old adage, share from the scar, not from the wound. And today, as I share this with you, I'm committed to experimenting with that, to exploring the edges of that phrase. Because the reality is, right now, on a number of levels, I'm not okay. I'm going through a huge amount of emotional stuff, and for me to attempt to show up and share from the scar, not from the wound, well, I don't know that I could do that. But it strikes me, as I've contemplated what I might share that could be of value, that this isn't about sharing from the wound. It's about sharing of the wound. Because the idea of sharing from the scar, not the wound, right, suggests that on some level it's not okay to be wounded. There is an implication that before you can show up in the world and share, before you can connect with other human beings, you must have done the healing. And I don't know that's very healthy. Now, I don't know also that it's very healthy to share from the wound, to suggest that these are my fully formed opinions and takes on things based on the wounded place I'm in. Because almost invariably, any time that I've allowed myself to be with a wound and to tend to a wound, then over time my perspective has very much changed in terms of what is of true value. So today I won't share from the wound, but I will share of it. I will show up and say, I'm not okay. And to invite you to be not okay in whatever ways you're maybe not okay too. And I'm reminded of a conversation I had with one of our community members. And for many weeks, she'd been just trying to push through. And earlier this week, I shared a CoffeeCast on the dynamics of power versus force. And it strikes me that in giving each other permission to show up in our woundedness, being able to hold a space where brokenness is allowed, well, that's a fundamentally powerful place to be. And it opens up an opportunity for others to connect with a different quality of power. So just like our community member, she'd been forcing, like that's the reality of it, for a number of weeks, trying to work out why things just weren't working out. And eventually, she and I happened to be on a call together. And she just said, actually, the truth is, like I'm not okay. And I haven't been okay for some time. And in that one moment, everything shifted. And over the course of the conversation that unfolded, she returned to a place of profound power. Now, she still wasn't, quote unquote, okay. You know, there were still wounds to be tended to, but her entire dynamic had shifted because she'd told the truth. She'd shared of the wound. And so, I guess that's the question I have for you today. Is, are there any places in your life right now where you are forcing, where you are pushing, where you're trying to be okay and you're not? And it can be a real challenge. Even allowing ourselves to acknowledge that we're not okay. Particularly us Brits and particularly us Brits of a certain age, where children were seen and not heard, where the stiff upper lip was still pretty stiff, particularly among our parents. And you know what? There's some unbelievable value held in the capacity, at times, to grin and bear it, to grit the teeth and get through. Like, there are times when that is the quality that is required. Absolutely no questions asked. But if it's the only way of operating, I think we miss an opportunity. I certainly know this to be the case of myself, that there are times when I will grin and bear it and I'll get through. And there are also times when I just have to go, actually, like, if I push here, I might break. And if I break, I'm literally no good to anyone. And the real quality of experience, and why I so passionately believe that enterprising over 50s, that the greater generation, the over 50s full stop, are so important, is because there's been this experience, this living of life, to know when breaking point is there, when actually I can push on here, or actually no, I need to throttle back. And I think that as I speak now, what lands in terms of this idea of sharing of the wound is the reason why it feels really important to allow spaces like that, where it's okay to show up in your woundedness, is because it gives people permission to begin that process of discernment, of allowing themselves to check in and go, where am I at? Am I okay, or am I forcing too much? And by supporting each other to develop that muscle, to develop that awareness, is something of huge, huge value to the collective. Because for everything we're going through, we know just how overstretched mental health support services are, for example. We know just how understaffed the NHS is when it comes to helping people with their mental health. And so the more that we can begin collectively to develop that capacity to be with, to support brokenness, to celebrate brilliance, and to hold both and all aspects of that continuum with equal love and reverence, well then, perhaps we open up something very special for each other, something very needed. So, yeah, today, I'm still unpacking the ways and whys of my not okayness. And you know what? I'm here on a warm, early evening, watching my dog sniff around the pine trees and getting to share with you. And as I acknowledge all of that, my heart swells with joy, with appreciation, with gratitude. And it's impossible not to conclude that I certainly feel more okay than I did 6 minutes ago, or however long I've been sharing for. And so perhaps there's a final piece of this recipe, of this sharing of the wound, which is that it is in the sharing that there's the salve. It is in the being with that becomes the balm. And so today, are you needing to allow yourself to be in a space of not okayness, of brokenness? And what might it be like to perhaps share that with someone you love and trust? Or are you in a space where you can offer that space, where you can be the person who listens? You can witness the wound, and in the witnessing, help to be the soothing. And whichever is possible for you today, thank you. For it is sacred work. And it's how we make this beautiful planet of ours with all its millions of interconnected relationships and weavings. It's how we make it more beautiful, more loving. So thank you for your part, and have a wonderful day.